The military junta in Niger just rejected U.S. overtures and mediation efforts. The first contact with the military junta by any U.S. official was made through the acting Deputy Secretary of State, Victoria Nuland. She didn't even meet the head of the military junta himself. Instead, he sent another general to negotiate with her. But as you know, military guys are always stubborn. They refused all her overtures. They refused to set a timeline to return to democracy. They refused the pleas not to deal with Russia, although they understand the risk of involving the Wagner forces in Niger. But for now, they are not even thinking of any consequence. What they are focused on is they want to maintain power. This is why it is very necessary for the US to always speak out before any coup happens, to always condemn repressive dictators in civilian garb. This is because these guys and their repressive antics against oppositions and human rights abuses are the major reason people are losing faith in democracy in Africa. Also, the lack of democratic dividends plays a major role. How can people be saying they are practicing democracy but they don't gain anything from it? The lack of good governance, lack of jobs, massive unemployment and insecurity, these are things that make people to lose hope. They will support any change, whether it's military coup or anything, just to get out of the status quo. Not that forceful takeover of government is good. No, it is condemnable. In fact, it takes the country backwards instead of forwards. But it's a result of something. It's a cause and effect. If there was good governance in these countries where we have seen military coups in the past, they wouldn't have even ventured to forcefully take over the government. So the United States can start by changing their policy towards Africans. For instance, in Mali, there was an election. That election was flawed and lacked integrity. No one talked about it. Even their constitutional court approved the heist that they call election. What happened after? The military boys forcefully took over power. This same thing happened in Guinea. There was an election that was flawed, but their constitutional court also approved and authorized that election. A few months later, the military struck. So the double standards of the United States is very clear. In the streets of many African countries, the United States have lost a lot of credibility. No one takes them seriously. They see the double standards. Why don't the United States take it seriously like they do in their own country? Look at the way the United States reacted to the January 6th invasion of Congress. Many have been jailed for their involvement in the invasion of the Congress. They have also held a lot of hearings in the Congress. So they don't use the same energy on African leaders who violate the rules of democracy. Yes, Newland made it clear that they will not send aid to a military government, that they are withdrawing all assistance, even military assistance. But these guys don't care. That's why they are military boys in the first place. What they care about now is holding on to power. Whether they will form a transitional government to get back to democracy quickly enough, they will decide that in the future. But right now, their preoccupation is to hold on as long as possible. The same way the United States didn't strongly condemn what happened in Guinea during the elections and also in Mali, it's the same way they didn't strongly condemn what happened in Nigeria during the presidential election. The presidential election in Nigeria was the worst in Nigeria's recent history. Despite the approval of use of technology, Nigeria's Electoral Commission abandoned the use of technology to transmit the results live, which enabled Tinubu and his party to rig the election in their favor. The US government can't say they are not aware of this.